Oh, it looks so good. My skin is glowing, dude. Look at me.
You're meant to let other people compliment you, not just do it yourself.
Oh, okay. I'll set you up.
Okay.
Man, do I look? Does my skin look okay?
You're glowing. It's unbelievable. It's like you've had a facial or some sort of rejuvenation, like a skin peel. You look at
Wow.
five
Thank you so much
years
for saying
younger.
that. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wow.
How do,
So
how do
nice
I
to
look?
get a compliment for a change.
Okay, you can't do visual gags on an audio podcast. You can't silently look at your girlfriend, who's also out of shot, and expect that to translate to the listener. It's not going to work.
That was just for you. That
Okay.
was just for you.
Well, I'll edit it out then.
How was your teeth brushing? What kind of toothpaste are you using these days?
McLean's whitening, one and only. I tell you
Are
what,
you really?
though, it's. I feel like I'm on the downhill slope with McLean's whitening. I think the world's moved on, and I'm not ready to, but it's becoming increasingly difficult to find in supermarkets. And I think the world's not McLean's happy anymore. They're going for some new upstart.
No, I didn't. I would not. I mean this with complete sincerity. I I find it a little bit hard to believe that you're a McLean's guy.
Yeah. What is it?
It's
Do you think that that's like a brand mismatch?
Yes, I think McLean's is kind of to me like a bit of an Audi, a bit of an Audi buy, a bit of
Interesting. Yeah, I
a
hear
bit
it.
of a bit of a what is that? What was that? It was like Bilo. You remember Bilo
Oh, yeah, actually, yes, I do. A brand I have not thought about in
or
forever.
Franklin's?
It's like a Franklin's.
It's
No,
like
I
a
think
Franklin's.
it's. Oh wait, okay. I need to recontextualize. When you said Audi, I thought you meant the prestige car, but you're
No,
saying Aldi, the
Aldi.
oddball supermarket.
Yes. By the way, good marketing technique on their
Yeah,
behalf.
they really thought that through.
Like Aldi, call it something like Mercedes, but it will be
Yeah,
like the the cheap knockoff.
yeah.
But anyway, I think McLean's has a higher sugar content in the toothpaste as well.
That's why I love it. I love getting more sugar on them teeth, and I'm not
Yeah.
satisfied with all of these healthier options.
I think you should change toothpaste.
Well, let me explain to you what I like about the McLean's, and it's specifically the McLean's Extreme Clean. It has a level of foaminess which I can't find in other toothpaste. I will, if you put a tube of Colgate in front of me, I will slap it off the desk and you across the face. Because all I feel like when I'm brushing my teeth with Colgate is that I'm actually brushing my teeth with my own saliva, and there's like a whiff of mint involved. I need a proper viscous foam going on.
That's very interesting, and I think we should just hang on this a little bit longer because I think this is what
I agree.
this is what people are coming for.
I agree.
I think in my older age, in my older years, I've moved to a more of a charcoal. Do you have any feelings about the charcoal toothpaste?
I don't. I mean,
I
I
like a
think
nice black scrubbing,
I feel like
and then
that's.
it makes your teeth feel whiter when you kind of rinse because you've just had shit all in your mouth for like 2 minutes.
I feel like that's a fad, and I don't know that I endorse it. But I'm happy it brings you joy. I don't know that it cleans any better or any worse than anything else. But if that's what you're looking for in a sink based experience, then I'm here for you.
Okay, so supportive. Look at
you.
us.
Yeah.
Now you've moved your plans for me.
I wasn't going to
What
bring
were
it
those
up.
plans?
Well, so Casey got a promotion, and as a part of the promotion, he's got a company car now. So
What?
this afternoon, we're doing some running around, cleaning and preparing it to sell it to his dad. So it's a reverse Michael. We're about to give his car off to his parents.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the job?
He's working at the same firm. He's just got a bigger title. He's up to a senior engineer. So,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
Yeah,
Congrats
getting
to
some
Casey.
perks now. Car park, the irony, of course. I think we'd mentioned on the podcast a few weeks ago that when I had my phone stolen, it was also that same week he had his bike stolen. Did I? Is that familiar? Have I talked about that? I can't remember.
I'm not a good listener.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, so we had 2 thefts in the space of a week. His bike and my phone. Insurance covered both, but insurance took longer for him to sort out what his old bike was and get a replacement. Bikes are hard to get these days. They ultimately gave him a quote, paid him out in cash. He went off and bought some fancy new bike, got imported from Germany, got held up at the border because the importers noticed that it had been valued at $8 for a several $1,000 bike. And they're like, you haven't paid the right taxes on this. And so then there was this back and forth between, because KC had paid GST to the seller, but the sellers had tried to sneak it through the border without actually paying the right dues. So there was a whole process. It was back and forth, providing receipts, paying, presumably they had to front some taxes, blah, blah, blah. Finally, the bike arrives. He assembles the bike. One of the pedals isn't working. Replacement pedals, replaces the seat, decides to get a basket, goes through this whole thing, gets his brand new bike, and he's like, bang, I'm set. This is what he rides to work every day. And then the following week, he gets a promotion and a company car. And so now he'll drive in and park to the office every day anyway. So
good on him.
How it goes. But yeah, so we're running around today doing car stuff.
Got a bit of a sugar daddy over there. He's providing for you. He's getting promotions. He
has done jack shit for me lately. So I want that on the record.
Do you want to talk about that?
No. Welcome to Deep Forward, everybody. This is a podcast, and I'm delighted to have your presence here. And by you, I mean both you, the listener, and of course, my friend Michael, currently in
Nam. Can you say that?
I don't know. Let's allow it.
Vietnam.
And I'm Nick. Thank you so much for being here. What a pleasure. What a privilege.
Such a priv.
How are we doing?
Good. It's fucking early. This is the earliest I think we've ever. Well, it's so weird because we're 5 hours now.
Yeah.
Apart from each other.
Yep.
And thanks to some very careful miscalculations from me.
Those miscalculations were so precise. You really tried.
I nailed it. I thought there was a 3 hour time difference. That is from, where am I? Hoi An to Melbourne. That's 3 hours. But to you...
Yeah, there's more. I'm
it's
not
5.
in Melbourne. Yeah.
So it is now 9 a.m.
Yeah.
I've just had breakfast.
Yeah.
I had noodles and I think a quail leg.
Okay.
With pork.
Okay. I looked at your photo and I thought, that's a fresh start. If there's anything that's going to get you in the mood for a podcast, it's probably not porridge. It probably is quail.
Yeah. It's questionable because we're staying at this. It's kind of like it's not Airbnb, but it is an Airbnb kind of thing.
As in, it's someone's home.
Kind of, yeah. We think it's a bit odd.
We think.
The people that own it live right next door, and they're cooking us breakfast every morning.
Oh, nice.
But there are other people also staying here in separate rooms, but it's all kind of one joined.
It's like a boarding house.
Kind of like that. So I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, you were talking about your living arrangement here being slightly unusual.
Yeah, the breakfast thing. So the husband and maybe the wife, although we've not seen the wife, are cooking for us every morning. But it's nice to have breakfast made for you. But also, we've been trying to not eat breakfast to kind of keep our, health, make sure we're not eating too much. And also, it saves money.
Are you being charged for this breakfast next door?
No, it's free. So we kind of have to eat it.
Oh.
But then also, it's kind of throwing out our eating schedules. Sounds so old.
Gosh, I mean, you're really just struggling over there.
But anyway, it was delicious noodles.
Why are you trying to skip breakfast? I get the saving money thing. Why are you concerned about eating too much? Surely, when you're living this big adventurous life, you're out and about, you're walking everywhere, you sightseeing and experiencing a new world. Are you not more active than you would be back home?
Definitely more active, but like, how much does exercise actually offset how much you're eating? It's like, my understanding is that it's like 90% of it's what you eat, and then you can burn calories, like you can knock off maybe 10% with like exercise. So I just feel like, because we're eating like, Vietnam food is like a lot fresher and a lot healthier. We're eating lots of like herbs and veggies and stuff, so it's great.
Yeah.
There's less oil, but we're also drinking a shit ton of beer. And by we, I mean Lauren.
Okay. And is there a
I
possible
Freudian slipped
sort
that
of...
massively. I said it by me. I couldn't even, my brain would not let me lie like that.
Yeah, I was going to make the joke that there might have been emotional reasons for all of her drinking, but it's fine. You've made your own admission here. So,
yes, it's given how annoying I am, it's surprising she's not drinking more.
Yeah. But I mean, there's still time.
Yeah. She'll develop some sort of addiction as a result of that with me, I assume.
Yeah. I was going to say, actually, like, in terms of your travels, I was wondering whether you'd benefit from or find it interesting to have an Apple Watch or something on your person, and like monitoring a little bit, like, okay, we're walking 15 Ks a day, or, you know, I've been active 90 minutes, you know, I've burnt X calories. And particularly if you are talking about watching what you're eating, you know, not out of particular worry, I think, but just out of curiosity, why don't you look at getting a watch or something?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. And I have thought about it. There are a couple of, there's one Apple store here in Vietnam, but I have my concerns because it's got two bytes taken out of the Apple, and the E on the end of it has a little umlaut. So I'm not sure how legit it is. But you know, maybe I will.
I was about to complain how jealous I was that there's an Apple store in Vietnam when there aren't any in New Zealand, but possibly up there is not quite the same.
Yes. Well, once New Zealand loses its third world status, I think
yeah,
probably
we'll really get a chance. Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of exercise, and I was going to bring this up last time, which is so weird. Last time I was speaking to you was from Korea.
Yeah.
That we've been trying to go to gyms here quite a lot,
which I was very impressed
about.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a whole. It's not something I've done traveling before, but it's like it gives you a very interesting kind of perspective. Even just the challenge of trying to find a gym, and then there's the cultural differences. In Tokyo, when we went the first time, you know, they charge something like 30 Australian dollars for just a casual visit.
Yeah.
At most of those gyms, at most of the like kind of modern swanky gyms.
Yeah.
Like your Anytime Fitness types.
Yeah.
And we were like, that's too much. So, you know, we were trying to search for public gyms. And in Tokyo, was it Tokyo? Yeah. In Tokyo, we found one that was, you know, it's a very small gym. It's probably the size of 2 rooms. And they've got basic equipment, like enough to get like a basic workout done. But it's basically for geriatrics. It's just for old people.
Sure.
And you know, you feel good because, you know, you're
stronger than everyone there. Yeah.
Finally, I'm the alpha of the gym. But in Vietnam, it's like a whole different thing because they don't really like, it's very cheap to go to the gym, but also they don't have
the big chains,
air conditioning, or any sort of airflow, and it's if you check the weather app right now, it says dangerously humid. I don't even know what that fucking means. dangerously humid mean?
It means don't breathe in too much, otherwise you'll drown.
Yeah. So you're going in there and you're already soaking in sweat, and then you're working out.
Yeah.
And it is just like it
feels
sauna. Good. It is like a sauna. It feels good. It does, because you feel like even if you just, you know, kind of coast through it, you feel like you did a lot more than you actually did.
Do you judge the success of your workout based on sweat level?
100%.
So you're walking in there,
only sweat level,
fucking already proud of yourself.
And it's so weird because when I was training in Melbourne, I barely broke a sweat. That's not a joke. I
Sure.
never broke a sweat.
Yeah. So you've been going like twice as much as you went in. Like you went 5 times in a week or something. Is that right?
I think it was 5 times last week.
Yeah.
Um,
Jeez.
it's tough because you have to try and find it's also like you also really want to do it. Like it is the best way to kind of level yourself and like kind of reset yourself after with so much chaos. And I don't mean chaos in like a negative sense. I mean like you're moving places, you're in a new place.
Yeah.
there's-
Overstimulation, new culture, new climate, new time zone.
Everything's off, and it's a great way to just recenter yourself, and get that kind of endorphin rush or whatever of working out. So
Yeah.
when I was traveling before, when I was traveling with Dan in 2016 or whatever, I barely done a push up, so it wasn't even on my mind.
Yeah.
So this is like a really interesting new part of traveling, I think.
Yeah. And it's impressive that you've able to be so consistent with it as well. I mean, is that, as you say, a normalcy that then frees you up in the rest of your day to go out and do new things? Like, do you think that if you were not as grounded in a sense, would you be out there doing as much as you are?
I think part of it is that because we're in this for the long game. You need some sort of discipline, and there is a lack of discipline in the sense that every day feels like you're on holiday.
Yeah.
And we kind of need it to not feel like that. And we were saying yesterday at dinner that we just have no sense of the days because they're kind of irrelevant to you. But as we're trying to get into working and stuff, we need to actually have some sort of regiment. It'd be nice to pay attention to the calendar week at least somewhat, or the working week.
Yeah.
Just so we can have that sort of internal or external discipline, whatever it is. And I think working out also feeds into that positive behavioral loop.
Yeah. Well, that's as you say, very very diligent, very regimented. But I'm impressed by that, and I think it will put you in good stead for a long term kind of life overseas rather than holiday overseas.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
it's basically it's all dependent on accessibility.
Yeah.
But even it's easier for me. I mean, Lauren's been forced to go into these gyms that are basically an 80s throwback. It's basically someone who's from the 80s. Their idea of what a gym is.
Yeah.
It's like pictures of women with big tits, not even working out. It's just like that's the
Just like there's
poster.
porn on the walls. Yeah.
It's porn on the walls, and they've wallpapered it in. So it's not even just a poster.
Yeah.
There's a guy who looks like Ken. Like it's a real throwback.
Yeah.
And poor Lauren's been forced. Like she wants to work out as well, but she's like forced to use this rusty equipment with like no shade to the good people of Vietnam, but hygiene is less of a factor.
Yeah.
There, and given how sweaty it is and given how
Yeah.
poor the ventilation is,
Yeah.
it is shocking
You've
that
gone
there
through
are guys
a whole tube of Caniston in a week. It's it's
there is
a
there are,
damp location.
there are guys benching barebacked, sweaty as fuck,
Yeah.
and there are no spray or white bottles anywhere.
Yeah.
No one's doing it.
Nah.
So, well, yeah, Lauren's still been like going at it, but like it'd be nice to find some like Pilates or yoga and stuff.
That's definitely like a bring your own towel situation.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
So in that context, why are you so concerned about having breakfast? Like,
don't know.
I looked it up just a second ago while you're talking. Like when I, on Friday, worked out, my total kilojoules burnt that day was 5,844. So that's that's the full day of Friday. That's not solely a workout. That's everything
What's that in
including
calories?
1,400 odd.
That's a fucking lot.
Calories.
That's 2 meals. That's 2 meals. That's crazy.
So that was my total burnt across a Friday. So in order
Wow.
to maintain that and in fact to grow and support it, like need to eat more. I'm not skipping meals. I'm actively eating larger meals or constant, snacking to cover that. So I'm surprised that you're like, well, I'm working out 5 days a week, but you know what? I could really skip a breakfast.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't really make sense. I don't know. I just had that in my head.
Particularly if your life in Melbourne was so sedentary in the sense of like office job, sitting at a desk.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm still in that mentality.
Yeah.
Where I would just prefer to be lean rather than have like body fat.
I don't think you'll have any risk of that.
Well, I don't know. I'm spending a lot of time with my shirt off, Nick.
Okay, I get it. I'm expecting, and I don't know if you've yet come around to this, but I'm expecting in 18 months or whenever you end up home, you will look like a cliche overseas traveler with a man bun and like scrawny musculature, like that kind of. I've been on the road, I've eaten street food, and I've, hygiene hasn't been the number one priority. But
you're describing a vegan in Melbourne.
100%. I expect you to look like a Melbourne vegan.
Okay, I'm gonna get some dreads.
Yep.
I'm gonna tie it up in a bun most of the time. I'm gonna get a Rasta hat.
Yeah,
you better believe I'm going to have a
if you don't come back with like ready, 5
just
hacky
tied
sacks
to my body. Yeah, I'm going to be really good at hacky sack. I'm going to smell awful.
What about what's that thing like free lining or like standing on ropes between trees? Slacklining.
Yeah.
This is who I expect you to be.
I'm not terrified that I'm going to become that because I despise that type of person. But I also really don't want to run into that type of person.
I mean, it doesn't sound like you're doing hostels.
No.
If you're in hostels, that's where they'd be.
Yeah, Vietnam does attract a lot of backpackery types, and I hate backpackers, even though I am one now.
Do you think you're better than them?
I am better than them.
Okay. In what way?
Smell.
Sure. Looked like there was a glance from Lauren there, but I'm not going to acknowledge it.
There was. It's like having a silent studio audience that just judges you.
Yeah.
Because she can only hear my side of the conversation.
Yeah.
But she's like, every now and then I'll say something, she'll look over. Like, that's actually an interesting idea for maybe a TV show. Where, like, the judgmental audience, where they don't laugh, they just raise eyebrows all in unison.
You can pitch it when you get back.
Anyway.
Let me just circle back and say, my point being that if you had a watch, I'd be curious to know what sort of exercise you're doing or some other fitness device to track that. Because I think that'd be interesting to know. Yeah,
because I guess that's one thing. I mean, the stepometer or whatever it's called.
Yeah, you got it. Stepometer, yeah. The speedometer. Yeah.
It should be stepometer.
Yeah.
I guess that's not super accurate, but it gives you a rough guide. But then it doesn't track workouts at all, or heart rate.
Yeah. No, you won't get like heart rate, you won't get blood oxygen or exertion and that kind of thing in a basic pedometer.
Yeah, maybe I will. I'll get a nice Apple Watch.
Yeah. They're not that expensive. They're a couple $100.
No, $2 here.
Yeah, Apple.
What's going on in your world?
Well, it's not hugely different to last time, to be honest. I'm not traveling the world doing exciting things, but I've been writing. We actually just heard that our funding pitch for the new show that we were hoping to get off the ground did not come through on Friday. So we are repositioning and going to resubmit that. But that was a little bit of a...
do you re-nose it to re-pitch it?
We're going to get feedback from both the network and from the funding body. And if there are changes need to be made, we will make them. But We'll see what happens. We're going to resubmit. It's a bit of a shame because I was hoping that we would be able to get into writing sort of nowish, but instead we'll have to put it in August and wait to hear until October, which then pushes all this stuff back again. So,
and the timelines of these things just must kill you.
Yeah.
It's like moving a boulder.
Yeah, slow slog. Yeah.
How annoying. What are we talking about this week?
Well, speaking of exercise and gymming, how about this one for a topic? Did you see this story? I'll quote the headline here. An Olympic-style competition where drug taking is allowed. An Olympic-style competition for drug-taking athletes is being launched by an Australian entrepreneur. Aaron D'Souza plans to stage the inaugural games of no drug testing in December next year with 2 high-profile Australian athletes among those expressing interest. A Melbourne-born, London-based businessman, D'Souza is president of Enhanced Games, a coalition of athletes, doctors and scientists. The competition is challenging the Olympic Games model, which he says is broken, corrupt and mafia-like. The IOC has effectively been a one-party state running the world of sport for 100 years, and now the opposition party is here. We're ready for a fight. I know they're going to play dirty, I know they're going to threaten us, but ultimately, we know that we are morally correct. 5 sports categories, track and field, swimming, weightlifting, gymnastics, and combat sports will be on the program of the Enhanced Games to be held annually. So basically, the perspective here is athletes are adults and they have a right to do with their body what they wish. My body, my choice, your body, your choice. And no government, no paternalistic federation should be making decisions for athletes, particularly around products that are FDA regulated and approved. D'Souza said there was great curiosity about any limit to human endeavors. So, Michael, what do you think
about this? This is my idea.
What do you think about this?
This is my idea.
Yeah. We've actually talked about this on the pod in the past.
I love it. We have, and you can play the tape. I remember us talking about drug use in sports, and I said, and I quote, paraphrase, that...
No, commit. I said, and I quote...
that sports would be way more fun if we just let everyone take drugs.
It is a very interesting philosophical thing for me as a bystander who doesn't really watch sports at all, at the best you could say irregularly, where for me the question of sports, like what is the point of sport? I think that has a different answer to different people. I think for some people, it is very much play fair, play natural, play, to the best you can as whatever, genetic makeup allows you to. Your genetic makeup allows you to. Whereas I think for others, which sounds to be your perspective, and this guy D'Souza's, he wants to know what could be capable in humanity with every level of support and drug and physical augmentation that you could attempt. What could humanity achieve? And I think that those two positions are quite ideologically opposite, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's much easier if you don't give a shit about the Olympics or whatever. But if everyone's doing it, it basically just boosts everyone up a level, I guess.
You mean in a competition like this where it's allowed?
Yeah. Let's just see what happens. And then you'll have people that refuse to do it and they'll just get washed out. It'll kind of raise the bar. I guess maybe that's the fear from the other side. Also, I found it interesting that he says, we know we are morally correct. That seems like a juxtaposition to me. You can't know that you're morally correct even if you are, but whatever. But yeah, I think and I think we shouldn't even stop there. We should take this to the Paralympics as well. We could give them, if they're doing, they're running with bionic legs, they should have, rocket boosters or something.
Right, so you want cyborg games is what you're saying.
I want cyborg games. That's what I want. What was that game on channel? Those Robot Wars. That's really what I want.
You want Robot Wars. Yeah, it's the Olympics, but everyone has chainsaws and they can run around and attempt to disable the people around them.
Now, I'll be tuning into that.
Yeah.
Imagine Russia and China and America fighting in that.
Yeah.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah,
fight to the death. Bring back the Colosseum.
Yeah, I
For
mean, the
real.
Olympics, originally very different to what it's like today.
Yeah, a lot more homoerotic, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what I'm looking for. He's saying it's not a question of can we break the 9-second 100-meter. I am sure we will. Quote, I want to see a 40, 50, 60-year-old break world records because performance medicine is the rod to anti-aging. It's the route to the fountain of youth. Part of this guy's...
Calm down.
Part of this
D'Souza.
guy's phrasing does feel a little bit culty to me. A little bit, perhaps religious hyperbole. There's a certain degree of
Grandiosity.
yeah. Quote, nothing will improve the productivity of our society more than preventing aging. It sounds like science fiction now, but we live in the future. Look at the rise of AI and other technologies. And the reason why anti-aging has been so stymied in the scientific community is because hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money around the world are going to fund anti-science authorities like Sports Integrity Australia, whose job it is to stop scientific progress. The reality is that the IOC have created an unsafe system which has forced the use of performance enhancements underground. So he is making
to chill the fuck out.
he is making some bold claims.
Yeah, I mean, I am with him. Like, just give everyone drugs, but is everyone going to get the same? Is everyone get the same drugs? So if that's the other thing, I guess, if there's no limit to what drugs you can take, then Russia, who cares about the Olympics way more than they should, because
they've got nothing else to care about. Yeah,
they've got nothing else. But Russia do care about the Olympics a lot, don't they?
They are very competitive. Yeah, I mean, historically they've been caught with all kinds of doping scandals.
They think of it as a symbol of their prosperity. It's like a lot of these communistic countries really look to the Olympics to represent them and display their superiority or their power, don't they? Like,
it's a nationalistic thing, for sure.
It is very nationalistic. But then Russia's going to spend, millions of dollars. They're going to open up a lab, and they're going to get all these scientists to engineer. They're going to make like little hulks of people, and they're going to win because they've put more money into, Frankensteining than other countries.
Yeah.
Is Frankensteining a word? I think it is.
I think it is. I think you're not the first to use it. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting for me because I've started working out in the past few years, and part of that has been learning a lot about exercise and diet and that sort of thing. And generally my understanding is, in terms of supplements and things, the only stuff which is proven to have actual benefits for average people to use is caffeine for energy to get you actually going and pushing harder, and creatine, and everything else beyond that
and no FAP
and no FAP. Yes. Which you've been
according to Reddit.
You've been actually practicing that for years and really talking about it proudly.
And not by choice. Not by choice, let me tell you.
But point being that there is a whole other culture out there, right, of steroids and all other kinds of things. And none of that interests me. And I think the reason why is I want to feel like the thing I achieved. And yes. I think psychologically, if I got, if I was using some kind of steroid or other kind of, under-the-counter supplementy thing, whether it's for personal use in a gym or for a competition stakes kind of thing, part of my brain would always go, but you didn't do this. This wasn't just you. This was the drug that did this. And I don't think that would feel satisfying. I don't think that would be as rewarding, but maybe people have different goals. Maybe if you just want to be the person who breaks the world record.
No, I'm totally with you. It's like cheating on a test. It feels like, or getting ChatGPT to write your essay.
Yeah.
It's like, is this me?
Yeah, I don't know. I just find that unsettling.
I know a few people that have started taking steroids or have dabbled in steroid use.
Right.
And they're kind of at the I don't want to give too much away, but they're at the start, like more or less, they're amateur to intermediate, trainers.
We talking about gym
Gym,
stuff or like sports
yeah,
playing?
weightlifting.
Okay.
Weightlifting.
Yeah.
And it's pretty. To me it feels shocking. I mean, when I've heard people say that to me, I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, part of it is like you're really messing with your hormones. You apparently your balls just shrivel up. Who
Yeah.
wants that?
I mean,
But then, like, what is also what is really the point? Unless you're trying to enter into bodybuilding competitions. What is the point? Just to look a bit like more muscular for the beach? Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, it does speak. It's quite a revealing thing, right?
Yes, it's very vain. It's like extreme vanity.
Yeah, I mean,
But I guess like women do that to a degree. It's like kind of getting like a boob job.
yeah, I
But
mean,
then you can't just take steroids and then just sit on the couch and blow up. Like, you still have to work out, but it's just like it's a boost, I guess.
yeah, but I think you can also tell when someone's been using steroids versus just naturally working out. So it is a vanity thing, but it's also a vanity thing in the same way that I think like plastic surgery or a nose job is vanity, where it's like, yes, sort of at a distance or on paper, there's been an aesthetic improvement, but you can tell that it was externally achieved, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever get into that Liver King fiasco?
No, but I think we were talking about it one time previously.
It's
No,
probably not
actually, I
worth
think
bringing
my
up, but
trainer mentioned, like, he was caught out not only eating liver or something. Is that right?
no, his whole thing, and I'm not like too across this, but
No.
his whole thing was, I'm natural.
Oh,
And I
that's
just
right.
I
Yeah.
just eat liver, and all of this is just from working hard and
Yeah.
eating fucking liver, dude.
Yeah.
And then people were like, really? No, you look really like you're taking steroids.
Roided
And then
out,
after
yeah.
like 5 or 7 years of some sort of notoriety, he was
Yeah.
like, okay, I did take steroids the whole time.
Yeah.
And the bodybuilding world was like, oh no, what?
The
Oh,
bodybuilding
man.
world must have been the ones who knew more than anyone. I mean, it wouldn't be them who are like shocked. They would be like, yeah, absolutely. I look in the mirror. I look at him. It's the same fucking thing. I think it'd be all the regular people.
It became a news story for some reason. Like, no one takes the Liver King seriously, and if you do, good luck to you. But like, it is interesting that it became a news story because it's like this, lie that maybe a lot of people knew about.
Yeah. I find that really, I don't mind when people are being vain for their own sakes. Like, if you want to do whatever you want to do, go ahead, your body, your choice, right? As D'Souza says. But if you're out there making a living off selling a lifestyle or a brand or an image, and you've achieved what you've achieved falsely, but you're out there telling people to do things or buy your shit, I just find that real scummy, man. Like, that's that's just a con artist.
Bit of a charlatan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't
do you
have
think,
to. Sorry.
Do you think this has got legs? Is he getting any traction with this idea?
Do I think it has legs? I reckon that there is an interest in it, right? Like, you were already interested in it. I think there is some subset of people. The question for me is a coverage one. It's a media one. Because you think about the value that the Olympics has for a broadcaster, how much the rights are for that sort of international competition. And there's this big, 2 weeks of constant coverage and events and ceremonies and all this kind of thing. I wonder whether he will struggle to actually get people to treat it seriously if there's this big existing organization pressuring networks not to give it any sort of attention because it runs counter to it. So I reckon he'll be able to get something going. My question is whether or not it will be sustainable, because either A, sponsors don't want to get on board with, like Nike's not going to get in there and be like, yeah, come to the Nike Dope Yourself games, because that's...
No, it's going to be sponsored by Monster energy drink.
But even Monster, I feel like it'll be sponsored by the shit that plays on Liver King videos. It'll be sponsored by like buy your testosterone pills and like all this other kind of thing. But you won't find any mainstream brands touching this, right? Because it runs counter to the entire brand of like, just do it, get out there, you can achieve things. And so then where does the money come from? How do you pay for a stadium? And also from the athlete's perspective, if you show up to this thing, you are basically permanently out of the Olympics. So this will
you're outcast.
This will only attract people who either already aren't qualifying for the Olympics, have aged out of the Olympics and know that there's no way they'll ever get back in, but are still like interested in competing. And so by the very nature of it, I wonder if those are less interesting people to a potential viewer as well. So there's a whole bunch of like organizational side there, which I think raises questions about the longevity of the idea.
Yeah, you'd be blacklisted as an athlete.
You would be black if you're like, yeah, I'm competing at the HGH games. Then
you can't come back to the Olympics.
You can't go back.
Year after that.
Yeah. Okay, here's a hot button topic issue. Trans athletes at the doping games. Do you reckon that, given the controversies in the Olympics and the whole thing of the steroid measuring and everything, do you reckon that there could actually be a kind of trans inclusive organization and get weirdly some left-leaning support for being like, yeah, people compete wherever they need to compete?
That's not a bad idea for them, D'Souza and co.
Yeah.
I think, that's not bad. Like, kind of neutralize, if their whole thing is kind of neutralizing the playing field, it's basically a free-for-all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's an interesting idea if they do go down that route to say, okay, well, this is... everyone can have as many or, as wide-ranging performance-enhancing drugs as they want.
Yeah.
Then do you have gender-specific events, or is it just a
that's interesting.
free-for-all?
That's interesting. I mean, here's another thought. Is it really open? Is it really anything goes? Could you do meth? Can you be on heroin? Like...
Meth is a good one, because...
How wide are we throwing open these gates?
Well, I think meth was used by the Nazis in order to keep their soldiers awake and to keep them aggressive.
Really?
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. A lot of Nazi soldiers came back with a meth addiction, and some of them went on like 5-night benders because they were fucking charged, and the Nazis were just going, "Keep going, baby." Like,
wow.
So meth is probably a good drug to use if you are wanting to feel angry and tenacious.
Yeah. Quote Michael, meth is probably a good drug to use.
Clip it.
There's your Instagram clip. But like, yeah. I find
I think there should be, I think there also, just on this, I think there should be, we shouldn't stop at drugs. We should include animals as well. Make sure it's like RSPCA approved.
Okay.
But let's
you want to
get a
see some
tiger
dancing
in there.
bears. You want to see
I don't want to see you running who can run the quickest over a 100-meter period. I want to see who can run the quickest over a 100-meter period while being chased by a leopard.
Yeah. I mean, leopards, you probably mean cheetahs. But yes.
All kinds of animals.
So it is a interspecies drug-taking games. Can the cheetahs be on meth?
Yes, the cheetahs can be. Everyone's on meth. The referees are on meth.
Okay. Wow, so it's really erratic. It's really...
No, the referees are on shrooms.
Oh, okay.
So that every event within whatever competition it is has like some deeper meaning. They just question why we are doing this at all.
Which I think, to be fair, a lot of the audience would also be questioning at that point.
Yeah, you have the sprint, and and then everyone sits in a circle and discusses it.
It's basically the modern equivalent of chess boxing, where you have to be both intellectually and physically capable.
Yes. This is not bad, Nick.
I feel like we need to
pretty
get in
good
touch
stuff.
with D'Souza and really start to clarify his intent, because he might be missing some important moves here.
We like your initial groundwork, D'Souza.
Yeah.
But Nick and I have got some thoughts as well.
Yeah. I mean, here's the end of this article here. Competing athletes will be given stock in Enhanced Games, a for-profit entity which he was self-funding, but also attracting interest from investors in California's Silicon Valley, the location of many startup and global tech companies.
Of course.
Of course, it's a tech bro idea. If you participate, you're going to get stock in the league and be a co-owner. And that's really important to us, because that's going to be an opportunity for athletes to generate wealth. I assumed that if you were an Olympian and won a gold medal, your life is made. It's not the case. It's sad to see people who have achieved the highest level of human excellence and they're living an objectively impoverished existence. And at the same time, you have these sports bureaucrats who are earning millions. And in the case of Thomas Bach, the IOC president, he's flying around the world in a private jet, living in a palace paid for by the IOC. It's literally an exploitation system. D'Souza famously led American billionaire Peter Thiel's litigation against Gawker Media involving the wrestler Hulk Hogan, which resulted in one of the largest invasion of privacy judgments in history. So this guy D'Souza,
sued by Thiel?
Gawker got sued by.
Pretty sure there's a documentary about Thiel suing Gawker.
Yeah, that's this. Yeah,
that's insane.
Thiel sued Gawker, and D'Souza led the litigation by Thiel. So that's where he's got his money from. And now he's in the tech sphere, starting up a drug Olympics.
Okay, I am massively out now.
Okay,
you couldn't be more out.
You've turned very quickly.
That's a hard no.
What if I said that Elon was interested?
Okay.
He's had an interesting few weeks.
This D'Souza guy is going to be on Rogan in probably
give it
3 hours. This is Rogan bread and butter.
I genuinely wonder if we search the archives whether he's already been on.
He's probably good.
Have you been following any of the Elon stuff, or have you sort of taken a nice social media break while you're overseas?
Yeah, I was thinking that as I was setting up that I'm so much not up to date with any news. I've been the only news I've been kind of keeping abreast of is the Prigozhin Putin thing.
Yeah.
But apart from that, man, I'm pretty light.
Do you feel psychologically unburdened? Is that nice?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint what it is. I mean, if it's I'm surrounded by nature and beaches and stuff, and so naturally you feel lighter. But I think it is nice. I've taken notifications off on my Facebook and stuff, and it's it's good.
Yeah,
I'm still using it, but I'm using it so much
healthier.
less.
Yeah,
but it does make me realize I was getting a lot of my news from social media.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not really sure what's been happening with Elon.
There was basically the only thing I was alluding to there was that Facebook launched its Twitter rival this week, called Threads. Yeah, which has already accrued 90 million users in the first week, which is a massive, massive success for them.
I saw you posted on there. I got a notification that you posted on
there. I saw that. I realized after the fact that it was telling people on Instagram when new people have signed up to Threads, which is a very canny pollination kind of move to get other users involved. I'm unlikely to use it probably long term, and at the risk of boring everyone to tears about it.
Too late.
The thing that interests me is that it's using or will use the same backbone as Mastodon, my preferred Twitter alternative. And it basically means that anyone who signs up to Threads and starts posting there, I'll be able to follow from my preferred Mastodon client in the future, which is a really nice open internet kind of thing where now all of your friendship groups and social circles and stuff can be cross-platform and not locked into one sort of ecosystem. So that's that's quite a new development in this industry. Anyway, the point being that Threads suddenly having 90 million users in a week has sent Elon into a bit of a tailspin, which included suing Meta for copyright infringement and for hiring people that used to work at Twitter and all these kind of things. So he's not particularly loving the fact that the competitors swooped in and immediately launched a very viable rival to him after he fucked around and found out.
Twitter's still going strong though, isn't it?
I mean, it's still going. It's not going strong, I would say.
Haven't they grown the base?
No.
Or their users?
No. They've had to, like... this is boring. But they've limited things where you can only see it if you're logged in. So now you can't, like, embed tweets anywhere. They rate limited stuff, so you can only view... There was a day where you could only view up to, like, 500 tweets in a day, which was about 10 minutes, 20 minutes of scrolling, and then it would say, sorry, you're done. And all these kind of death spiral-y kind of actions. So yeah, it's not gone great. They also they had a lot of tech failures a weekend ago, and the site just fell over. So
I guess whoever wins out of this cage match between Elon and Zucks gets to keep their platform.
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
I mean, I think I'd already thrown my hat in the Zuckerberg ring for his physical likelihood of beating Elon in a cage match. But it seems like in terms of a business strategy as well, he might be doing that with his platform as well.
In terms of business strategy, it's if you're an unlikable guy yourself, like Zuckerberg is, it's pretty savvy to make an enemy or a nemesis of an arguably
even less likable,
more unlikable person. I don't agree with that. I love Elon, as you know, he's the greatest. But it's a pretty interesting technique, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it has made Zuckerberg look more likable and more strategically sensible. That's for sure. I'm not a huge Zuckerberg fan, as we all know, but it's good to have some competition there to shake things up a bit.
Yeah. Well, good luck to them both equally.
Yeah. I know you'll be rooting for Elon to come out with some fancy jiu-jitsu moves.
On meth.
In terms of seggies, last time we alluded to the fact that Lauren might have a segment idea. Is that something that she wanted to do?
Lauren, how are you feeling about doing this? She doesn't want to do it.
Okay.
Next time.
Apparently. Make it really good.
That's what you said last time. She
I
just wants the list is ever growing, I think. So.
Is it a Lauren's myths or equivalent?
So it's things that she's learnt about me while traveling.
Hey.
It sounds like a fun idea.
This is good. Yeah, I'm happy to wait for that. I'm happy to wait.
Okay, he's very excited about this.
Yeah, things you learn about your partner when you travel together.
Okay, but I won't do it the other way because that's not going to end.
Yeah, that's just bullying. Yeah. Well, if you've enjoyed listening to this episode, thank you so much. That's a very nice thing to hear. And I would love to read that in person. So why don't you jump into your email client of choice and send something to deepthought@gmail.com. Whether it's a question or a comment, it could be read out in a podcast in the future. You could also scroll over to the old Spotify feed or Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating, leave us a review. You could get in touch with us on a social media platform like Instagram or Facebook. And you could also just go out and actually acknowledge the homeless person on the street for once instead of looking the other way when you walk past them, and tell them that Deep Thought is a great listen and they should really tune in.
I don't think you can call them homeless anymore, Nick.
Unhoused?
Unhoused.
Well,
house challenged.
Yeah.
That's worse, isn't it?
Might be worse. How about a wreck engine, Mike?
All right.
How do you feel about Mike? When people call you Mike, I feel weird calling you Mike.
It's funny you say that. My family calls me Mike.
Do they?
And And every now and then, someone who I don't know will just call me Mike.
Yeah.
They'll just do it. And I feel like it's like, no, you have to earn that.
I heard it coming out of my mouth, and I actually stopped myself and felt like that was uncalled for. I don't know that was... Like, I've known you for 16 years now. And I don't know, it might be too soon. I don't know if I've got there yet.
I think it's actually too late.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's been Michael or fuckface for 16 years.
Yeah.
Just switching to Mike seems like, okay, you can give it a go if it feels right. But I mean, I feel like you're allowed.
It's like
to
a middle-aged man who starts wearing Hawaiian shirts. You're like, this time has passed. This wasn't you. You're not a fedora guy. You're not a Hawaiian shirt guy. Unfortunately, you're going to be in polos for the rest of your life.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, you can call me whatever you want, but like, make sure you make it count.
Okay. Do it with love. Do it with passion.
Do it with love.
Okay.
And intention.
How about some Rec Engine?
Keys me, bitch. Ugh.
Welcome to Deep Thought's Recommendation Engine. Okay, well, we are in the segment. I'm not sure I like how we got there, but the past is the past.
Apologies.
Been a while. Rec Engine. Michael, you've been traveling. Do you have things on your list? And if so, how?
What?
What are you recommending, and how have you had the time to recommend things? How are you consuming media or other activities while you're away?
So I thought I had more, but I've got two. Okay. But they're good ones.
Okay.
I've got an album just to fortuitous preempt.
Gratuitous.
What's the word when you want to allude to something that's happening in the future?
Foreshadowing.
Okay. It's less foreshadowing, more like a contents page on a PowerPoint presentation. This is
This is a very strange way to
This is the verbal equivalent of tying your shoelace, one shoelace into a knot.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Wow.
I've got an album and I've got a show. Very simple, classic.
I'm just for clarity, I'm leaving all that in. You don't get to just do a clean reset. I will be including everything that led up to it. I saw you trying to be professional and give me a fresh take, and I want you to know that it is not happening.
Okay. In that case, okay. So I've got an album for you. Now this is an album by two artists. It's a collaborative album between Fred Again and Brian Eno.
Okay.
Now, Fred Again, I don't know if you've probably heard about Fred Again.
I know the name.
He's very popular with the millennials, with the Gen Zers. No, maybe not the millennials. I keep thinking millennials are young, but they're kind of 40s, old now. Yeah. They're us. Gen Zers, Gen Xers, whatever the fuck.
Definitely not Gen X.
The people in their early 20s that are just getting into drugs. So he makes like dance music, but I really respect him as a producer. He's like he does some really interesting dance music. He had a couple of albums during the pandemic that were used. He used recordings from conversations that he had with his friends, and then he made like dance bangers out of them.
Nice.
But he's also been his family was friends with Brian Eno.
Yeah.
And so he was kind of Brian Eno's muse or protege or whatever.
Yeah.
And he had this kind of mentor in Brian Eno, and Brian Eno said, has said in interviews that like when he met Fred Again and he heard some of his tracks when he was just doing like very early stuff when he was 13, 14, he was like, this kid is insane.
He was like really early into it.
yeah, he was like, I'm going to mentor you because you've got like an astonishing ability.
It.
Anyway,
Yeah.
you've got it, man. And anyway, they've released this album, which is like this extremely slow, very ambient record called Secret Life. And it's just like, it's so beautiful. It's like, they've got like, Brian Eno has done a lot of ambient stuff. He's got that great album, Ambient Music for Airports, which I love. And a lot of people who like kind of synthesizer drone kind of music, very long, extended, sustained synth waves that kind of ebb and flow and form different kind of textures.
Yeah.
And they've kind of done that together and put that with Fred Again's like his incredible sampler. And it's just like it's a beautiful record. It's a lot of like, it's not even loops, because loops come around every so often. It is loops, but they're kind of so sparse. Not the
dominant,
that they kind of coalesce and form different kind of textures and colors. Anyway, it's a beautiful album. And it's like a little bit heartbreaking in times, like some of the refrains that they choose to sample in certain parts seem like they have different meanings at different parts of the songs, even though they're the same sample. I don't know if any of that is making sense, but it's just come out like in, I think, May. But it's called Secret Life by Brian Eno and Fred Again, and I've been thrashing it.
It's interesting that Eno, for such a respected and prolific producer, he is still going at it, right? Like he's what, at least 60, right? Like he's quite up there.
70 plus,
yeah. And he's still out there making music. Like I get new suggestions from him in my Spotify Discover all the time.
Same.
And he's doing collaborations with all kinds of people. And he
seems famously produced Coldplay's Viva La Vida and kind of brought them back into where they
pushed them into the stadium area they wanted to be in. Yeah.
And also kind of has voiced like criticism of them. I remember there was like some interview and he was just like, they were not where they needed to be, and they they needed a lot of help, which is so funny to say.
Of X and Y into, or you mean he's talking about them now, like.
No, he was talking about them then
at that point,
and being hesitant to produce their album.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's prolific.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot of pop stuff in the early days as well. I'm sure your dad's all over this. But he's now his ambient music is like kind of leading. He's like the king of ambience now.
Yeah.
And I love a lot of his ambient music.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a big rec from me.
Yeah, great. I'll throw an album back at you, which I have actually suggested a month or two ago off pod. It is Eve Tumer's latest album. Praise a Lord who chews but which does not consume, (brackets), or simply hot between worlds, close bracket.
Rolls off the tongue.
Doesn't really acronymize very well, but what an album. Eve Tumer, as we alluded to, sort of an ambient oddball in previous albums. And this is very much a tonal departure, more rocky, funky, like groovy, hard-edged kind of pop tracks. And I fucking love it. It's great. I've been thrashing this album, and really lyrically interesting. It's really conceptually interesting. I just think it's great.
Yeah, he's a very interesting artist. You did recommend this to me, and I think I was out doing something, and I listened to the whole thing, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit of I'm a little bit surprised that you were into it as much as you are, because it's a bit of a hip kind of. He's done a lot of beatsy stuff in the past.
No, I don't mind a bit of that. I think ultimately, like we've had conversations previously. Like I've tried and failed repeatedly to get into Air, to get really into like beach house and that kind of stuff. And sometimes I can't connect with some of that. I don't know what you'd call it, like almost like vibesy kind of music. Like I need a little bit
Yeah.
more in the way of lyrics or in the way of surprising melody or, you know, harmony and that kind of stuff. I can't quite click in. And that's also why
Sure.
I feel like The National for me has become a little bit of a decreasing returns for me because they only have like 3 chord progressions they ever use. Like that kind of thing
Yep.
tires me a little bit. So when an album comes out like this, where an artist who was playing in that field but then turns and comes out with something more pointed or more outlandish, it really sort of can get under my skin a bit. So that sounds like a negative thing, but I mean a good thing. It can get its hooks in me.
Yeah, no, that's it's cool. I did like that one.
What's your next rec?
Next one is pretty simple. It's Our Planet 2.
Bit of bit of the old Attenborough.
Bit of Davos Atsos.
Yeah.
It's basically pretty much exactly what you expect, just with better cameras. They've done... I'm not sure if it's the same guys who do Planet Earth. That's like the big one.
That's the one.
But they also did Our Planet, which David Attenborough produces and narrates, I think. I don't know, but it's just animals, you know? It's just
Is
fucking
Attenborough
animals.
out there in the field? Is he doing piece to cameras in forests these days, or is it all VO?
No.
He's
It's just
VO.
VO.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he's just got the greatest voice of all time. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
I
just
mean,
like
amazing.
it's we've been watching a little, like I think we watched the whole season now. It's just 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Just one about ants that I have so much respect for ants, man. So much respect for
Don't
ants.
fuck with ants.
I was watching this one episode that they have where they put cameras into the ant hive, and the amount of like teamwork that ants do. Like they have the queen bee that doesn't it doesn't see the light of day basically ever.
The queen.
Somehow
the queen ant.
The queen. Oh yeah, Queen Ant. Sorry, don't mean to
Offend.
offend the insect community.
Yeah.
It's like
You knew you'd be
I see all
cancelled.
insects as the same. But yeah, the queen ant doesn't see the light of day, and then once a year, they'll have to move her out. The whole colony or the hive or whatever, they'll have to move her out, and they've managed to capture this on camera. They're literally lifting the queen ant out in the cover of darkness because it's the safest time to do that. And then all these ants are carrying the lava sacks that she's been sitting on. Like they're a lot smarter than we give them credit for, ants, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I've actively tried to remove them from my house with poison, so I feel a little bit guilty admiring them at the moment. But
You should.
But I can respect, you know, it's Darwinism, and unfortunately they needed to eat some poison and die so that my chocolate could go uneaten in the pantry. But
Yeah.
they have intelligence in their own way, as all creatures do.
Yeah, well, I would never kill an ant.
I think that's
Just want that on the
provably
record.
false, but yeah.
Well,
Good rec. David Attenborough, always good. I think you should leave.
now?
I think you should leave season 3. Came out on Netflix a few weeks ago. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we need to recap this because we both love it, but I think you should leave. It's so
fan.
fucking funny, and it continues to be fucking funny. And what a miracle that show exists.
He's such a weird guy.
He's such a weird guy, and I love it. I love it always.
I love that he's apparently using sketches that didn't cut it for Saturday Night Live or weren't palatable for the Saturday Night
I think that was
Live
true
audience.
in like the first season, but I feel like they're up to all fresh stuff now, unless you heard otherwise.
Okay.
But they definitely did that in the first season, which I admire. Being like,
Yeah, I mean, it's
well, this is still
the
good,
weirdest
so I'm
parts of
using it.
SNL.
Yeah.
No, he's fucking weird and he's fucking funny.
Yeah, it's one where you either like the comedy or you don't, because there is no middle ground.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else? Otherwise, I'll throw in one more show.
Nah, all yours.
Actually, I'll throw in two briefly. There's one show that I watched called Mrs. Davis, which is wild. It's about a nun fighting AI, running around on a horseback and trying to beat like Siri. The rest of the world's addicted to Siri, and she's a nun, and she goes out and tries to stop it. It's heightened and ridiculous, and
that's been done.
I mean, we've all seen it, but that's a great show. It's very weird but very enjoyable. The one I really want to talk about, though, which I think is one of the greatest shows of the past decade, is The Bear. Do you know anything about The Bear?
Yeah, I watched the first episode.
I watched the first episode of the first season.
Yes.
The Bear is a show set in a kitchen about a guy who inherits his brother's beef sandwich shop in Chicago, and it's a bit of a disaster. It's disgusting. It's financially in tatters. His cousin works there. It's hanging on by a thread, and he is a incredible chef. He went off and became the world's best chef, and he comes back and takes over this business and tries to get it back on its feet again. It's a drama. It's on FX. It's 20 minutes an episode, and it is so incredibly good. It is so fucking good. And the second season has just come out, and it continues to be fucking good. I would just rave about it forever, but I strongly encourage
I
people
really
to check
need
it
to
out.
get on that. I really need to, because it's got all the hallmarks of something I would like. It's like,
if you love your Bourdains, if you love your like corner behind, like all the kind of accoutrements of like a chef show, a really authentic chef show, but couched in this like character drama and comedy.
Yeah.
It's a miracle of a show.
Lauren, you watched season 1 of The Bear.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah. You didn't watch it.
I didn't. I only watched the first episode.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I want to watch the second season.
Yeah, it's just... second season's out now?
Just come out, yeah.
All right, I'll put that on my list.
It is amazing. The performances are great. The character stuff is really heartfelt and understated, but compelling. The comedy is there. All of the performers are perhaps not names that you would know, but they're all wonderful. And sort of because you don't know them, it's very easy to buy them as their characters. You're not bringing any preconceptions in. It's not like Matt Damon playing a chef where you're like, Matt Damon doesn't know how to fucking cook.
No.
So it's all
Bradley
wonderful.
Cooper.
But apparently the creator's sister is a really accomplished chef, and so she's brought a lot of her knowledge into it. Some of the actors in the show are actually chefs in real life, and so they have a sort of naturalism to it all. It's just so good, man. Check it out.
All right. So I saw someone put a photo of, what's his name? The guy?
The main character, Jeremy Allen White.
Main character?
Yeah.
Jeremy Allen White. And who was the guy who played Willy Wonka?
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
Put a photo of those two together, and it's
I can
it's like
see
father
that.
and son.
I can see that. Yeah. Good
All right,
shows.
I'll put that on my list of things to fall asleep to.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. Do we have an outro? I thought you were going to dab
do we
them
need-
for an. I thought you were about to like flex and dab, and then
I've been doing this thing called the mini dab.
okay.
Do you want to see it?
I'd
I
love
have
to.
adjust my camera here.
Okay.
It's
I'll
not really
describe
gonna
this
play
for
at
the
home,
listeners. Yeah,
the
that's
audio.
okay. Yep.
I can't really do it.
This-
You know what? This idea is not a good one. It's one of my not good
Michael
ones.
is speaking with his lips, and he's just doing like the sort of kill it gesture under his neck to communicate that he doesn't want to do it anymore.
If you think about that gesture of like the slitting the throat, it's kind of a barbaric.
Quite aggressive.
It is quite aggressive. It's like cut the throat, kill it.
I wonder who the first person to give that a go in an innocuous setting was.
Yes.
Where it's like, okay, we've been using this gesture in mob circles for a while, and then the gangster gets home at the end of the thing, and his wife's making lasagna, and he's on the phone, and she's like, "Do you want me to cut you up a slice?" And he just goes. She's like,
Yeah, he's
"What?"
still in work mode.
He's in work mode, and she's like, "What?" Oh no! No, you're fine. You're totally fine.
She's starting to cry.
And he's like, sorry,
you're
I'm just
probably on the
I'm
money
on the
there.
phone call. I was speaking to the Don. The wife's like, honey, can you
Yeah.
not do the behead me gesture when I offer you some? It's like, oh yeah, sorry, babe. Yeah, I'd love some lasagna actually.